according to her, made peace with the Bigfoot, which then kind of like stopped the rock throwing in. But she said still the howling, the screams that were at nighttime, it was so chilling. She finally got to the point she couldn't live there anymore.
Wow, that's crazy. I don't know. It sounds to me like, I mean, I've heard, a lot of stories that are very Bigfoot's aggressive tendencies. It sounds to me like he's either nice or, he's a bully and he needs a good whooping.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe his Bigfoot will communicate with you. I have no idea. So, I mean, that's why I'm glad, and I really admire what you two guys are doing, and everybody else is going with you to, try to, capture on a film or on your media a Bigfoot, proof that they do exist, and that's the hard part. I had cameras on me, and people have said, why didn't you take a picture? And I said, well, I'll tell you something. After being in this Vietnam and all this stuff, I tell you what, I was more scared when that thing came charging at us than I ever was worrying about anything in my life. So, the last thing I thought about was stopping taking a picture of what was coming after me. But I admire what you guys are doing. I mean, if you can get some, decent, non-blurry stuff on the media, that would be so awesome for everybody to see it.
Well, I mean, we're gonna be going right into the thick of things, and I'm not gonna back down unless there's a raging fire coming towards me, or I can't breathe.
That could happen. Where are you guys located at?
Right now we're in Salem, so it's not too bad, but I'm gonna have to go to my doctor's tomorrow before we head on up there, and I'm gonna have to get an inhaler because if the conditions get a lot worse, I could start having some breathing problems, which would be definitely not too good.
Well, I can tell you over here in Gig Harbor, Washington, at 2:00, it seemed like about 4:00. You know how the light starts getting dimmer. And it was this, you could smell the forest fire, the wood burning smell. And then, the cars over here in at our house is all covered with, soot. That stuff is not good to breathe.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's like, I think, one of my brothers was telling me that a couple of his friends at work calculated out that, down here in Salem, where it's actually pretty, it's kind of light here. You're breathing like the equivalent of 5 cigarettes a day.
Well, I got a funny feeling where I'm at is probably like maybe a pack or more a day. That's how bad it is. I go out there and I can, with the dry air and all that stuff and breathe that in. I find myself out there coughing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really hope you guys find, a Bigfoot, or if one finds you guys, and that would be so, great. Now on the UFOs, have you ever worried about being abducted when you're out there trying to film one or anything like that? All of a sudden,
Well, ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to be abducted. I know that sounds strange, but it sounded to me like it would be an adventure, like the story of a lifetime. Hopefully, that they're rather friendly. So, I guess, one thing I would like to figure out is if the alien activity has any correlation or any ties with the Bigfoot activity. If we start hearing howls and stuff right around the time where we start seeing strange lights, everything's going to be documented, and, it's going to take more than one trip up there to, fully gather enough data to try to make a good calculated decision. But I really, really hope that we actually do get an alien encounter. Thankfully, though, we have a night vision camera that can pierce through all of the smoke and everything, and it's just clear as day, and you can see right to the stars and everything.
Oh, yeah. Back in the early 2000s, I used to run a chain of professional camera stores, and we used to bring in and import from Russia and Czechoslovakia, the night binoculars and stuff like that. And, I took a pair home one time, and I was stargazing after I got tired of looking at, my neighbors. But that's another story. Very interesting, yes. Yeah, I don't even go into that one. But I started seeing things up in the sky. It was like zigzagging and stopping and going a 90 degrees opposite direction almost instantly. And I got back and I talked to the guys that used to come in, belonged to a group that, they, what do you call it? They had a major telescope, and their club used to go stargazing.
Oh, were they astronomers?
Yeah, and I told them about that, and I let them borrow a pair of these infrared binoculars. And the next thing I know, 2 days later, they were in buying them like mad because they were shocked what they saw up in the sky at night.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I know. I'm getting a night vision binoculars, Generation 3. It's from one of my friends up in Portland, and I used it at the ECETI Ranch and a couple other places. It's definitely interesting what you'll see with that. That's for sure. Hopefully, two of our night vision binoculars will be equipped with 720p video recording. So if we catch anything, we'll get it on camera, which is definitely our goal, because with this documentary, we want to take our audience with us on this journey. We don't want to basically come back and say, oh, this is what happened. We want them to be right there with us and enjoy the moment as well. So, that's a big part of this project. And, and to a certain degree, it's kind of a accumulation of a lot of the adventures that we've had over the last 10 years. We started researching the Yakima Lights, I think when I was 15. And so, we've been at that for quite a while now. One of my friends from Portland, Peter Beach, who's a microbiologist, retired high school science teacher. And we would go out to eastern Washington, more like central, around near the Tri-Cities area. And we would just spend a couple of nights and just watch the sky and record any unusual activity. And we actually got to see a couple very unusual things during our time there. So, that's kind of how we got connected with Mount Adams. Because of the investigation we were doing into the Yakima Lights phenomenon.
Oh wow! Now, how far is that away from with Seattle?
Well, you mean the
where are you guys going to be going? Where are you going to be filming? How far is it?
Where are we going to be at? So we're pretty much sticking around Mount Adams, generally speaking. So not too far away from it, because the topic of discussion that we're dealing with in this documentary is the mountain and the mysterious phenomenon around it. So we don't want to stray too far from that.
Okay. Now, do you have the people that are going with you from the UFO I team and stuff? Hopefully you got waivers that in case one of them get eaten by a Bigfoot, for example, you're not going to be sued by one of the family members.
Well, that's a good point. We need to make a Bigfoot specific waiver too. In all seriousness, I guess some of that I have to talk to my legal guy and just make sure that I got everything wound up.
I would talk to Michael. Something.
That's right. He is the legal guy.
Yeah, he is the paranormal lawyer. But this is not just that. Let's say you got a group of people out there, right? And somebody exerts themselves too much and keels over dead, or they see a UFO or they see a Bigfoot, and then they keel over dead or fall off a cliff or fall in a hole and they're gone. I mean, just a little, a heads up. I always, think of protection. Not just having sex, protection in general.
I was just thinking that, yeah. Yeah, I was like, well, beyond that, I'm not really sure what we would do, but but yeah, that is a really good point, and I'll probably touch base with Michael on that, just kind of get his perspective.
You know what? That's actually a fantastic idea. If we go up there and we get a Bigfoot encounter, and let's say it's aggressive, if I ever, I'll just bring up anybody who doesn't like me. I'm like, hey, you want to go meet Bigfoot? And then, what do you know? Another Bigfoot casualty.
Well, hey, if you have somebody you don't like on the backpack, here's what you want to do. In their backpack, you want to put a nice, a sirloin steak in there. And then, maybe some apples and oranges, sneak a little bit of one of that in there. And if that don't work, take a piece of bread, smear it with peanut butter on it, and also put that in their backpack. And you know what? Instead of being a pussy magnet, they'll be a Bigfoot magnet.
Well, hey, maybe they'll get the 2-for-1. They get bears and Bigfoot, together.
Well, that's another thing, but people ask me, when I saw that Bigfoot, what did it look like? I can honestly tell you, it looked like a huge human, kind of apish, but it had, only hair on probably about 80% of its face, but it had all the, that a human would almost have, just out of proportion, if you know what I mean, in different ways.
Oh, I do. You mean, Magnum?
Well, I don't know about that, but I can tell you that, that's the only thing I can tell you. And that is also, I heard that from other, people that have been on my show that have encountered Bigfoot too, that they had all the human type organs and stuff like that.
Wow. Well, I know when people have been doing the study on the Patterson-Gimlin footage, they've come to the conclusion that that's a female from the breast. On there, I know that was a topic that Clyde Lewis brought up when we were doing that Bigfoot show. He found that very entertaining. Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think about the Patterson footage?
Well, I really think it was real. I really do. It's in a situation where they weren't looking for a Bigfoot. They ran into it. And that's how it happens. Everybody I've interviewed that actually claimed that they saw a Bigfoot, it wasn't where they were out looking for a Bigfoot. It was they were out there, either hiking or, looking for bear or just, whatever. And they ran into it, like Ed Romans up in Canada. He has a farm back about maybe 5 miles from his farm. There's the forest. And him and his dog would go out there like once a week and go for a long walk into the forest. And that's when he ran into a Bigfoot. And that thing, he said, chased him for about a quarter of a mile before it stopped.
Wow. True. I would be, I'm not that fit. So hopefully he doesn't chase me. I'm going to be like, dude, just catch me. I'd rather get caught than run.
Well, take the slowest person with you that can't run, and say, hey, it was nice knowing you. And, that just think, you didn't have to donate your body to science. Maybe you did. You donated it to science where we can actually get the video of the Bigfoot, devouring you.
That's true. I mean, whatever happens, if there's anything quite aggressive like that, my opinion is you keep rolling the cameras, and I don't care, what sort of, moral standings people have about, releasing footage of someone getting killed or hurt or whatever. It's like, you know what, if it's me, you release that documentary, you release that footage, the public must know. Oh, yeah. Well, getting back to these Indian tribes, when I was, interviewing and talking to the medicine man and the medicine woman, I said, what would be the best way to attract a Bigfoot? And they said, things like berries and meat would be the more, would attract a Bigfoot more than they kind of saying the stuff like, jars of peanut butter and apples and stuff like that really isn't going to really attract one. They like eating meat like we do, and they can smell it. So, meat and, berries and stuff like that. They said that. And I heard that from all three of them. And now I didn't interview all three of them at one time. I went to, where they lived on the different reservations and talked to them. And they all told me pretty much the same thing. So,
If you got somebody you don't like, sneak a steak in there.